minutes. So in this video, I want to talk to you about how the whole process happened, right? And how in the very beginning, because when I moved to Australia, like how I basically got a job in Australia, because it actually was pretty tough for me to begin with. Like I got a waitressing job, no worries, but in reality, when I first moved here, as some of you may know, I moved here with a boyfriend at the time who became an ex-boyfriend a few months later. I didn't have any family in Australia. I didn't really know anyone here. It was a pretty shit house for a while, to say the least, because I felt like everything is completely pulled from right under me, and I really didn't know what to do and what I wanted and where I was going, and I sort of knew what I wanted, but I couldn't do that and couldn't get into that, and I struggled to get an engineering job for like 8 months. And that was tough, and I would have applied for over 700 jobs. You know, I've been applying job after job after job after job, and you know, there is a certain level of, yes, you need persistence and you need to keep going and, you know, kind of perseverance, show the world that you really, really want whatever it is that you're going for. But at the same time, there is a limit to, is what you're doing effective? Do you need to do something else? Do you need to change your technique? Or are you even backing up the wrong tree? Should you be doing something else? Because whatever it is that, you know, you're being rejected from, perhaps you're just being redirected and it's not the right thing for you to do in the first place. So in that space of 8 months of searching, right, I've tried all the different methods and all the different techniques that I could think of. And it's really funny because, you know, recently I got new jobs, so I kind of almost didn't relive that experience at all, but I just remembered about it and reminded myself how it went. And this time around, like, the job had literally just popped up, and it was so easy and effortless, and like, seriously, and I really felt like I just wished for it and it came up. But in the very beginning, I found 4 methods, you can say, on how you can approach and get a job. So I actually ended up looking up one of my very first CVs that I put together right out of uni, and I remember that period of time. I was, you know, again, out of uni, only had like, well, I actually still at that time worked for 3 engineering companies, and I was trying to get like a permanent full-time role, and I was also moving right to different cities. So I looked up at that CV and I almost like laughed, because I feel like it did not really reflect all the skills and abilities that I had at that time, but perhaps it did, because I think writing a good, concise, very well structured CV is a skill and is an ability, and sometimes you just don't know how to do that until you do, unless people listen to music around. But I want to keep chatting to you. So anyway, first things first, you do need to put together a CV, right? And CV is like a concise little document, like a package of all of your best skills and experiences put together in one, line after line. You outline your work experience relevant to an industry you're applying for, you know, because, you know, your hospitality CV is going to be very different to your professional engineering CV. Well, that's how it is for me, because I also worked like 10 years in a hospital, because that's just another thing I was doing. That's how I earned money before I could earn money being an engineer full time, really, like the reality of it. And of course, cover letter, which would be very, very structured and directed towards a certain job that you're looking for. So we'll talk about 4 techniques, and actually in reality, because I feel like I have an insane amount of experience in this now, we could even potentially look into doing separate videos on how to structure a good CV from my point of view, from what I've seen give me results, and cover letter and expression of interest letter. So let me know if you do want me to talk about that and do that sort of video. But anyway, right now we talk about 4 techniques. So the first technique is applying online to a job ad. So great, lucky for us, yes, we live in the world of World Wide Web, where we can just type in any search engine and it will bring us a like 100 jobs or like half a dozen jobs, depending on what you're applying for and what you're looking for. We have all these great databases where we can go into and search for the job, the company that we want to work for the job type that we want to work for the city that we want to work for. So you can go on things like Seek, you can go on Indeed, you can go on Zora, you can go on LinkedIn or Gumtree even, and many, many others. You can see quite a few of them are very like mining, oil and gas focused, because that's like what I'm in and what I have been for the past while, half a decade working in that industry. And there are two different things that you think of when you're applying to a job, through a job ad to a job ad. One, if it's a company advertised, or if it's a recruiter. So if it's a recruiter advertised job, the questions that you will get and the way you structure your cover letter will be a bit more focused on who you are as a person, your personality, your skills on the kind of interaction, communication level, from my experience again. And especially when you go on with that ad and it gets you an interview, that's the recruiters tend to ask a lot more questions in regards to personality and how you'll fit with the team, how well you will work with the company culture and their view and all that type of stuff. How do you respond in certain situations, whether it be stressful or teamwork environment or anything like that. When the job is advertised, not by HR from a company, more from a manager from a company, from an engineering company, for example, the questions would be much more technical, and the experience that you need to describe in your CV and your cover letter will be much more like technical focus. So then you want to mention a few little buzzwords here and there, or I know how to use that software, that that the person reading your CV will actually be like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. This person, like, this chick knows how to operate, whatever, like Optisem or something, like whatever, like some sort of piece of software that not many people know how to use, or a piece of software that would be applicable for the company you're applying for, which would mean that they do not need to retrain you in that, or they don't need to stress that you may not get it right. So I feel like it's really, cool to kind of just put in here and there, even things like SAP, like, as a graduate, you don't really understand the procurement and logistics and anything like that, well, because I did engineering anyway. So to me now, to understand, because I've had four years experience in SAP, you learn all the little codes and things that you can do and how that fits into a global, big business, and or small business, and how you can utilize that to your advantage. Next, technique number 2 is expression of interest. And again, you can do expression of interest directly to a certain company that you would like to work for, or submitting your data to a recruitment agency and seeing their feedback. And I think it's really good to have that as a plan B, because you don't know what's gonna turn up in the future. You don't know what project might come up, and then they'll be flicking through and be like, oh, this is a CV that fits. I actually have had that also happen to me when I have submitted my CV just to database in a recruitment agency, and then I got a phone call and they're saying, hi, we'd like to invite you for an interview, are you interested? We have this job advertised with us at the moment. So I've done that too. And from my experience, the recruitment agencies job is really just put together your skills and kind of help you write that application for whatever it is that you're applying for, right? And then they will provide that to the company that has hired them to find someone who would be suitable for a certain role. So it's really cool, and it's a nice way to do it. Obviously, I think applying and going through that similar experience that I did, applying for 700 jobs, that's ridiculous. It's way too much, and you should not be doing that at all. But at that time in my life, I didn't know what else to do. I felt so lost, and I had no idea how else to do it. And I think through doing that, I have learned so much. I've learned to present myself. I've learned to put together a CV and a cover letter. Because like I tried it, change it and change it and change it. I've learned to read job ads and really highlight whatever it is that would be the most, significant thing to mention on my application. And it's just really about selling, right, yourself and your skills. So technique number 3, which I think is actually a really, really cool one, and not many people do that, is actually physically going to a company's office, to their reception, and saying hi, like bring your CV, look, nice and professional, wear a smile and be as confident as you possibly can, and just say hi, like this is me, these are my skills and abilities, I'm looking for a job. Is there any way I can help your company and maybe you can help me? And I have gotten actually a lot of success with that. Like if out of all the successes that I have had and all the interviews I have received, like actually I will tell you what, like the most amount of success I started having in terms of getting a job, professional job, because all of my all of my hospitality jobs basically came from me rocking up to a place and saying, hi, I'm looking for a job, are you hiring? But my professional engineering job, like I don't actually understand why it would even, like it could be different, but it like actually like I think about all the times that I have had all the interviews, that is how they came to me. I went to an office and try and talk to somebody who works there. Sometimes you talk to a receptionist, sometimes you talk to a management or HR person, or like I even went up to like senior management also. It's just been like a huge range, and I've had phone interviews from that. Sometimes I would be given an email address to send my CV to. Sometimes my resume would just be taken in by a receptionist and then distributed amongst the people in the company or hiring managers or something. I've also had straight up right there in that interviews, I'd come up to like a place, a company, and say, hi, like let's chat, like I want to know what you guys need, I want to see if I can meet your needs. And then they'd invite me in and they have a conversation with me. I'd have like an engineering manager come out and sit down and actually chat with me, and that was very lucky actually. Now that I think about it, I know how busy engineers can get at work. And then also at the same time I've had phone interviews from that, and I've had job offers from that as well, which was insane and epic. And I think also there's a trick to mastering an interview, and I think the bottom line is practice. And sometimes you might be so amazing that you'll just smash through the interview. I remember when I was 17, I got my very first engineering assistant job. I did not know very much at all. I just knew like how to use Excel and Microsoft Word, and I just finished high school, and I got that job, and I worked there as a assistant engineer for like 3 or 4 years. Because like I'd go to study at uni and then I'd come back and work during vacation, and whether it be like 3 weeks or 4 months or whatever. Such crazy luck. So anyway, technique number 3 is literally physically going into an office and saying, hi, I am looking for a job, how can I help you, and how can we have both of my needs met. And technique number 4 is really interesting and exciting one, is actually networking, which means you throw yourself into the industry, into any kind of public presentations that are out there, any kind of conferences, seminars, panel discussion meetings, anything like that, where you can really go in and blend and be associated with the people that already work in the industry that you're really, really interested in joining, right? And through that, I think you can really get a lot of gauge, one, on what that industry needs or lacks. If you're talking to a certain company that you're super duper interested in joining, you can also see what that company needs, what is it that they're short on, and how, and then you can figure out how you can fill that gap, right? Because it's like supply demand. And at the same time, a really, really cool trick also, like I actually love LinkedIn, I love that it exists, but also it's good, you can just talk to people who work in that industry and you say, hey, like I want to join this company, like what do you think is the most necessary things? And it could be, finishing up a course, like a few-day course online on some project management software, or it could be doing something additional on top that is, out there online or in person, do some sort of course, build your skills, and then meet the requirements for a certain position for a certain company. And you can also learn more about the company culture. You can really get a gauge and feel on, do you really want to join that place? Do you really want to be joining that industry? And get a real life feedback from people who already work there. Do they see any kind of progress in the future? Out of those four, I think number 3, like the in-person one, is just the most exciting and exhilarating, because it's also really scary and anything can come of it. But also I think it's the great one. Like the first time I did it, I was literally shaking, but afterwards, after you do it a few times, you just end up building your confidence level up and figure out the ability to present everything that you have in that 90 to 120 seconds little segment. So you just really learn how to pick and choose whatever it is that is the most significant and most important thing to present to the person you're talking to, whatever would be the most relevant thing. Oh my god, there's like some people walking past. I'm sitting here talking to the phone, but hope you guys appreciate it. So there you go. 4 techniques. Number 1 is replying to an ad, whether it is being advertised through a company or recruitment agency, and dependent on who is advertising, you can really kind of add and maybe structure slightly different for one or for the other, your documents that you're submitting. Number 2 is expression of interest. Again, you're either submitting your CV and your details to a recruitment company, or you're submitting your details to a company you'd like to join, just as a plan B, just for one day. And number 3 is physically rocking up and saying, hi, this is me, nice to meet you. How can I be of service, kind of thing. Because, from someone who does, been working in the industry, and I've actually interviewed people as well now. Have had that experience where I needed to interview new graduates that had positions for in the company I work for right now. And again, as a person, as a busy person, busy engineer or busy manager, you don't have time to sit around flicking through a million CV. It takes time. So it's really, really helpful when a candidate, really confident, very, shows interest and presents themselves in front of you. And seriously, I feel like whole lot of opportunities came to me through that. And I haven't taken every single job, obviously they came through that way, but it definitely helps. Absolutely, definitely helps. And it's just something that not everyone does. And that's more or less when I started getting results, when I started doing that actively in the Brisbane CBD. And number 4 is networking. Networking, getting amongst the people who already work in the industry, seeing what you can learn from them, seeing what you can provide to them, and just really understanding more about the companies that are out there in the industry, and seeing if you really want to join, or which out of this 10 or 5 companies you want to really do want to join. So there you have it. And the thing is, I don't really know what exactly helped me to get in that, last time, I got 4 job offers in the space of 1 week, and that is after 8 months of no job offers in engineering field at all. That was ridiculous, seriously. But I think from my experience, what I have learned is there's no one-size-fits-all kind of solution, and it's really you go and you try out and you see what are your best skills. And I think one of my best skills is actually, it might sound a little bit, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but it's just really the energy that I carry when I meet people and when I present myself in front of them, and that actually gives me really positive feedback. Although there have been a few interviews that I screwed up as well. Well, I didn't screw up, but I did not present myself as probably confident as I could have, which is fine. It's all experience, it's all fun. Either way, I have also exercised, I reminded myself recently, how was it that I did get the job that I have right now, that last time when I literally knew no one here. And I was like, I wonder if any of that stuff works. And I've tried a couple of those methods again. And believe it or not, I got like literally 3 interviews in the space of 1 week. And I was like, like I was so surprised because last time it took me so long. But yeah, and then I basically the following week I had a second interview for one of the companies, and then I got a job offer straight away. And it just was I felt like it was easy, maybe because it was, you know, right place, right time, and right thing to happen with the correct experience and everything. So there you have it. Hope you have found this video helpful, interesting. Maybe it gave you some ideas. And I want to end with a quote, right? The ship is safest in the harbor, but it is not what the ship is built for. So if you want something different, if you're just out of uni or just finished some sort of qualification, or you feel like you're stuck in the job that you're doing right now and you want to start something new, I feel like it's okay. I shouldn't have to feel bad if I want to try something new. I feel like it's very natural human progression, and it makes us of more value, and it helps us help the world and people around us in more ways, really. So we should never feel guilty for wanting to learn new things or wanting a change. And it could be change within the company you work for, it could be some other company, some other industry. Never be afraid, remember. Just stay true to yourself and see what can come of it. The artist. This world is magic, and artist is you. I'm actually writing a poem at the moment for Toastmasters about my adventures and stuff. So that's a good one. That is one of the lines I use in there. Anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. Lots of love to you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning back in, and hope you're having a wonderful night.